Welcome back to Kaufman Writes, a late night edition. Probably one of the later streams that I've done in a little while, unless we count the Right Now-a-thon, but that was a specialty event. Welcome. For those of you who know, my schedule has been a little all over the place due to New Year's and moving. So today what I'm going to do, I was not feeling like writing at all. I was definitely not feeling like writing, and I was not feeling like I wanted to sit down and deal with streaming today, but I did because I am on that consistency mission and train. So this is one of those days where even though I didn't, because I'm in the middle of moving and tired from doing all the moving stuff, I still showed up anyways because I am committed. I am committed to Scarecrow and Crow as they embark on this next journey. I am Kaufman. Welcome to the stream. I am on a mission to help the writers of the world with the writing process, whether that's brainstorming, editing, publishing. Clearly, I'm tired today, and all the stuff. So we're starting right now. Okay, so you guys can see I already have my screen up. Boom. So I've already here on Scarecrow, and even though I'm like, all right, don't feel like writing today, still gonna do it. We're still gonna see what happens. Luckily, I am at an easy chapter. I know I'm at an easy chapter because I'm at the beginning of Act 2, and I don't think too many changes have to happen today. So let's go into it. Hey, what's up, ML? Welcome, my friend. Glad to have you in here. Nail, your latest stream. Yes. Don't you know it? Don't you know it, my friends? You know what? We're streaming a little late tonight. This is called Kaufman is taking a break and moving this week, as you guys can see from slightly new background. So granted, the background needs some more color and some more setup in the meantime. Hey, what's up, Landrick? I'm out writing as well. After work writing time. I feel you on there. Not quite work today, after moving work writing time for me. So we're going to see what we can get into once again. So I have Scarecrow up, and even though I do not feel like writing, I am still going to write. So this is just going to be one of those days. I should probably just find this. And I want to say that yesterday I did. What did I do? I would say yesterday I checked into organization. Yeah, because I was organizing for what I needed to work on next because I don't feel like writing. We're just going to see how long I can go in this session, and hopefully we can get a little work done. So I will throw up the music. I'll join you in the comments if you have a question, and let's get some late night writing done, my friends. All right, so I was just pausing this real quick because I had a thought as I was writing. Clearly, I was getting a little distracted. But when I was working on this part of Scarecrow, I'm actually very happy. I'm very, very happy with how I left off this first chapter because most of the first 10 chapters I've had to make revisions and reviews to be able to get this draft to the place that I know it needs to be based on how the first draft came out. Like I've shared, the um most of the middle and the end of the manuscript on the first draft are just in much better condition and closer to the story I want, hence why I've made so many changes. But this is probably one of the first chapters where I'm going through it and I'm like, all right, what I wrote from the first draft works, and I know that because the ideas that I'm presenting align very, very clearly with the character's goals, motivation, and drive as it pertains to my hero, Scarecrow, and how that connects to the end of the story and his arc. So I'm liking what I'm having so far, just from the first page. And I can just tell that the farther I get into this, the less rewriting I'm going to have to do through the overall manuscript, and the more just I'll be able to pick up the pace just from a reviewing standpoint. So I was very happy about that. But as a side note, quick question for those of you. Let's not do that. So, quick question for those of you who are here late at night with me. Let's say I'll start a Q&A. What time of the day do you prefer writing? This is actually kind of like an interesting question to me. What time of the day do you prefer to write? You guys know, right? My normal streaming time tends to be anywhere between early to mid afternoon. I think that's just from learning and testing it out and saying like, okay, well, I try to be available when the most of the writers can, at least later in the day, since I'm not a morning person. So I'm kind of curious. I would love to hear from you guys. Drop a comment. When do you guys like to write? Is there like a preferred time of day where, like, for those of you who maybe might have school, or maybe you have other obligations or work, how do you what's that perfect time of the day when you can work around it? Yeah, I'm kind of curious actually. I am being a night owl. When do I prefer writing? I think originally I used to prefer late at night, but since I've been doing this streaming this past year, I think I'm used to kind of writing at any time. Now, obviously, if you're somebody who's like a full-time author, then you're probably writing a good majority of your day. Hey, what's up, eccentric? I love that. You're like, I write all day. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Heck, yes. All right, that definitely deserves a round of applause. I love it. I love it. Anyone always gets my hats off and accommodation. No, I was like, I don't know. Forgive me, I've been moving all day. I'm tired. But that's super cool though. I'm curious, what types of things do you write, my friend? Let's see, Lynn. I do mostly early morning, 6:30 a.m. before work. Yeah, I'm not surprised. And I'll usually see you on like the writing sprints super early, but that makes sense because you have to do it around a day job. Totally understandable. I think my problem is I'm just like, I've never really been a morning person, but at times in my life when I've had to work earlier, like of course, like I make it happen, but I just know myself well enough to know that like my habits, my brain, I am the most awake at night. Like perfect time is like midnight to 3 a.m. because that's just when my brain's very awake and I get it's all the silence and quiet in the world and I can always focus. It's always something that's worked really well for me personally, but I know everyone's different. Let's see. Only reason why I'm not today is because I did my newsletter this morning. Congrats, congrats. I know how challenging newsletters can be. And I think the hardest part about newsletters for most people is a consistent routine, right? And I think that it's sticking to it. Same with all of our social stuff. But the problem is with newsletters, you have to put more time. You generally have to put more time, creativity, and attention into a newsletter for it to be worthwhile, especially if you're doing like a monthly newsletter. You need to make sure, there's enough value that my subscribers feel like they're getting enough value that they're paying for and they're learning something new about me. So newsletters tend to be a little bit more time intensive than like a normal socials post, but they're so necessary. So necessary. Anyone who is on a social media platform. And if you're trying to build a readership following, whatever it is, you need to have a newsletter because, and I'm sure you guys have heard this before, right? you could get kicked off YouTube. You could get kicked off Facebook, TikTok. All right. TikTok might go away in a few weeks. Who knows? Or you could get kicked off Instagram, any of these social media platforms. And because they're private companies, right? And they have every right. Now, of course, they're not just going to randomly kick people off, but that could always happen. And it happens to people all the time. A newsletter, you own that completely. You can't get kicked off your own newsletter, right? So it's like it goes into that ideology and that mindset of owning your audience, right? Technically, if I build an audience on YouTube, yes, they're here with me, but technically YouTube owns the audience in a technicality if the only thing I'm doing with my brand or readership or author is only on YouTube. So highly, highly approve. I love that, Lynn. Lynn, drop if you I know you've dropped a link. I'll need to join your newsletter. I like newsletters. I'll join your newsletter, Lynn, and check it out. That's really awesome. Raven, like I write in late afternoon and evening just because of my work schedule, but I can write anytime. Yeah. I totally get that, especially when you have to like balance it around work. But that's good that you have the creativity at most times of the day to be able to do that, because that means even when you're not at work, you're able to balance it with like other life obligations and stuff like that. Yeah. Hey, I feel you. Let me tell you, when I was doing 40, 60, 80-hour work weeks with a day job, like there were so many times where I'd get home and like, I need to write. And then I like went and hung out and watched TV, and I was just like, writing takes energy. Work takes energy. We don't always take into consideration, even though writing is sitting at a desk or sitting somewhere probably and working just you and yourself, we don't take into account, I'm not saying you, Lynn, personally, but I'm just saying writers in general don't take into account the amount of energy that it takes to be creative, right? The amount of energy just into brainstorming, thinking about your world, your stories, your characters, the amount of energy that goes into coming up with words and then forming stories and doing all the things. Just because you're not running around and doing physical stuff doesn't mean it takes up less energy, especially for stuff we love and like we're deep into. Like it's always something we've got to take into account, and it's hard. That's why I believe that consistency, especially with a busy work or school schedule, is so importante. Yeah, Emil, you're another night owl. Yep, my friend. I was like, I don't know, guys. Maybe I'll start a stream where I'll just do like one really late night stream a week. I could always try that. I guess that's something. I'm just not always sure if people want to show up for super late streams, because I generally tend not to care when I do the streams. I tend to more revolve it around when people are most active, because then it's like, all right, well, you can come join me while we're doing stuff. Weekend, if there's specialty streams, that's an exception. Specialty like weekend streams tend to be an exception. But generally, like my daily streams, it's not really. I'm working all the time regardless, so the time I stream it doesn't really matter much to me. It cracks me up. Let's see. Yeah, maybe I'll do a poll. Maybe I'll throw a poll in the Discord. I mean, it's probably been about 6 to 8 months since I've done an audit on my stream times. Yeah, maybe I should do a poll, see if people want a super late stream. I could try that out. That'd be interesting. Like I said, this is the latest you guys have seen me, right? And this is I'm 9 Mountain Time, which means if you're Pacific, you're at 8 o'clock. And if you're on the East Coast, 9, 10, 11, you're at 11 o'clock, right? Which means you're approaching midnight. Let's see, LeMay, when I'm at work, I write during my breaks and then continue when I get off. That's awesome that you're able to be creative on work breaks, LeMay. That's actually really, really awesome for you. A lot of people find that hard. I found that difficult when I was working like a 40-hour week job, because things would get crazy. And it was a little different for me when I was in like management as well, because that's just like even more energy. Sometimes awesome, sometimes soul sucking. And I think trying to get that energy during the breaks could be hard for me at times, but that's awesome that you're able to do it, because then it's kind of on your mind and you're thinking about your storytelling throughout the day. When I'm able to write on a break, I get home at the end of the day, and then I'm actually able to get myself to keep writing because it's been on my mind all day. Hey, what's up, Courtney? Welcome to our late night stream. Late night free write and writers chat. By the way, this is I have you here. If you're enjoying the stream, follow and subscribe. I'm here every day with the Right Now community. We are a daily writing motivation stream. Today is day 369 of consecutive writing streams. So if you're looking for other writers to talk with, if you're looking for daily writing sprints, free writes, author interviews, story and critique show, I'm like, we got so much. I need to just come up with a list of like all the value propositions. For those of you who missed out, we just had our biggest event of the year, the Right Now-a-thon. It was a live writing festival. We reached about 1,500 people across the different social media platforms, and it was so cool. Like, there was 25 hours of streaming, presentations, discussions, guest speakers, free giveaways, games, literally all the everything. Coolest event ever. Oh my goodness. I'm like, whew, I don't want to do it again. And I'm crazy. All right. So definitely, like I said, we got a lot going on here. So if you're a writer, this is the place for you. Tap that follow and tap that subscribe button right now. Okay, so that is good. Let's see, what do we got here? Hey, Courtney, do you know any ghostwriters for newsletters? ML, do you know any ghostwriters for newsletters? People hire assistants to do newsletters, certainly. Yeah, I mean, a newsletter doesn't always necessarily have to be from the author directly. If because like you can, I think Lynn's speaking to this. I'm not sure if ghostwriters, but people hire assistants to do newsletters, because really it's more about building the brand and the relationship with the readership. People will have assistants do newsletters because that's an easy thing to offload, because you don't always have to do a piece of writing. You could talk about some writing thing, or you can talk about something that's connected to the author, maybe the author's life. I think there's definitely a number of ways to go about it. Absolutely. But writers could hire a ghostwriter as well and be like, hey, I want you to write a story that sounds like me, or I want you to write techniques and stuff that sound like me. Oh, Alaska time. You're 7 p.m. Wait, so 987. I don't even know what that is. What Alaska time? Interesting. I'm so used to Pacific time, because I'm used to I think the majority of the community is Central. We generally have a mix of all the time zones, right? I know we have Pacific. I know there's others on Mountain with me. I know we got Central and East Coast. Sometimes on weekends we get International. Very, very cool. It's actually really funny with streaming. I've been told that before with jokes. Sometimes as a streamer, sometimes when you're talking with people, there's times where, because I'm in such a stream of consciousness, sometimes jokes will go right over my head. I'm just like, all right, just trying to talk with everybody. And that's totally happened in the past before. And I'm like, all right, well, it just cracks me up. Now I get the joke. Like, all right, he's 5 minutes behind. So that means it's probably time to get back to writing. Put Kaufman back to work. Courtney, like, I typically write in another 2 hours. Oh, except on Wednesdays, right, during your live. Yeah, our Wednesday writers group is always our latest writing stream. And you guys know, right? Soul's always with me. Usually get crazy. Sometimes Penelope, ML, you join us. We get Bobby sometimes. We have a couple of pop-ons. We've had Chris, Holly, Dana shows up. We brought in WTC. We've gotten some good writers coming through the community on our Wednesday night writers group. Absolutely love it. Okay, all right, back to writing. Jared needs to try to get more work done. Let's see, more music. Cue the music, and let's see. Let's go epic. All right. What? All right. So was able to get a little writing in. I was pretty happy with that section. I was able to knock out the first part of the chapter. I'm like, okay, for having not having felt like written, and then knowing that I was going to be able to get a little bit of work in, I feel pretty good. I was like, I feel pretty good about that. I was like, okay, I was able to get a little bit done. So I feel very successful considering I didn't feel like doing it at all when I started. Hey, what's up, Marta? Catching you at the other time of the day. It's early for you. Holistic, welcome. Whenever 8 can find the pen. Wrote a title after a live stream with you. I love it. I love hearing the creativity. Holistic, by the way, you should, if you haven't already, make sure you join the Discord. Link down in the YouTube description. You should throw that sort of thing in the Discord. Other writers will love things. Like I love titles. I love names and I love ideas. So you should definitely throw things like that into the Discord. That's awesome. Hey, what's up, TR? You're like, still at work. Oh, sorry, friend. It's feel your pain. Got to pay the bills. Well, hopefully work isn't going too horribly now that the holidays and that holiday craziness is out of the way. So hopefully, I mean, today's Friday, so maybe we get some a nice weekend ahead of us. Eccentric, you're like, I spend most of my time researching. I needed to study on a subject so that I could write it. Dude, good for you. I spend most of my time I need to study on a subject. Yeah, and I mean, I think it's definitely important, right? Especially when we're writing about things that we may not be familiar with or things we want to make sure come across and are very realistic for our readership and our audience. Completely agree. I think studying is so important. And I think depending on what it is you're writing could take larger amounts of studying. So I'm always for studying and researching as long as the studying and researching doesn't outweigh the amount of time we spend writing in the long term. So I think with everything, it's like everything in moderation, right? What I've seen, what has happened to some writers before is they get so stuck on the brainstorming part of their story, on the fleshing out the ideas, kind of the characters, worlds, concepts, things, and all the stuff. And then they get so focused on that, they never actually end up getting to write the story or don't get that far, or then something crazy happens in life and they'll lose motivation. So I'm like, definitely research is important as part of the entire process. So, but it sounds like you write a lot, so this is probably pretty easy for you, in honesty. Yes, amen. All right, you're like, TR, like, it's been a little slow, and TBH, I'm not sure which one is worse. I get that from customer service people all the time. I don't know if it's better for it to be slow because then you don't have to deal with like crazy people and okay, it's easier, or if it to be busier because then at least time passes faster. Yep, feel your pain. Been there, done that too many times. Ooh, you had an out-of-body experience this New Year's Eve? I couldn't speak. Sounds like you had a really, really great, well, hopefully it was a great experience. Then it gives you something else to write about. Finally, like adds to your storytelling. That's interesting. You're like, you believe you're called to finally write. I couldn't speak. Well, I mean, that just means you probably have a really great story to tell. That's actually really, really cool. I'd be very curious to hear what type of story you're going to be embarking on in this 2025 year, right? Sometimes we just have to, experience it and just see what comes when we start writing. And then we go on an experience, and little do we know, I started off trying to write a 2-page free write and ended up with a 150,000 word manuscript that I'm now in the second draft of. Yeah. Like I am alive. Well, good. That's definitely good. Definitely a good thing to be alive. And I think coming to the realization of the present moment and the appreciation of the present moment and where I'm at can be very powerful. Mm-hmm. Absolutely grateful. I think when we have those moments where we pull ourselves out of this, the minutia of the day to day, and where like you recognize your self awareness and you recognize what's going on around you, and you call to it and you speak to it, can be really powerful for a lot of people. I know it's a strange experience, isn't it? All right. Awesome. 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 So I feel pretty good. I was able to get a little bit of writing in today. I feel solid. I'm like, what day is today? Today is Friday. Yes. Okay. So today is Friday. So as most of you know, I'm usually for my weekly schedule, my streaming schedule, we usually do some special, usually have some types of weekend streams. I have nothing planned this weekend because I'm still moving. So this week is really just writing sprints. You guys should come back and join me tomorrow. Tomorrow we will doing more writing sprints. I'll probably go a little longer tomorrow when it's if I can stream earlier in the day. I'll probably stream in the early afternoon. That's usually what I tend to do on weekends, but I'm just going to get some writing and work done on Scarecrow. So if you want to come get some more writing done with us tomorrow, come join us tomorrow. I'll be back. Normally I announce the times. Oh, actually, I might have announced I think I might have announced my weekend times. I forgot. Right after 368 days. Forgive me. Sometimes I don't remember. Let's see. Did I announce for the 30th, Saturday, Sunday? Yes. So come join us tomorrow. I'll be back at 1 p.m. Pacific, 2, 3, 4 p.m. Eastern. 1 Pacific, 4 Eastern for some more writing sprints Saturday and Sunday. And then next week, we'll return to our normal right now schedule in terms of our weekend stuff. So I will, obviously, our writers group on Wednesday. Saturday, I will be back with the next story and critique show. So if you're needing feedback on your story, you should submit an excerpt to the story and critique show. I was like, whoops, I should probably, I'm going to advertise that. Then I should remember to have the form to send you to. So if you need feedback on your story, I'll do the next story and critique show will be next Saturday. I said taking a break this weekend. So next episode of the story and critique show will be next Saturday, the 11th. Let's see, where's the critique form? Yes, here we go. So next story and critique show will be next Saturday, the 11th. If you need feedback on your story, there's that. If you need feedback on your story, go to the link. I just dropped it in the YouTube chat. Basically, writers submit their stories for a free reading, and then we do a free critique. Super cool. Everyone loves showing up, whether you want to just come into the chat and be like, hey, that was a cool story, or whether you want to submit your story, you get free feedback. This is one of our most popular weekly streams. I highly recommend you submit. I'm only able to get to X number of stories. I love doing the readings per stream. Right now with our submission rate, generally I can queue them up for the next stream, but as the community grows, I'll only be able to accept so many stories at a time. So I highly, highly recommend, as our community is continuing to grow, that you submit your stories sooner rather than later. There's some streams, and I've done 33 episodes of the story and critique show. So there are some of those critique shows. Well, let me just say this. Every single story and critique show, I always get submissions. the average, on some slower ones, I'll get maybe like 5 to 7. On busier ones, I get like 10 to 16, depending on the stream. If I try to get through as many as I can, but as this community continues to grow, I'll get to the ones that I'm able to. Yeah, so definitely submit. Let's see. Super cool. Absolutely eccentric. Cool. Many channels are doing writing and productivity streams on Saturday. Lots of opportunities to be productive, which is great. And I mean, also keep in mind it's New Year's. So anybody who has like a YouTube channel or a lot of writers are probably still in that like, okay, New Year's resolutions. My real interest is like how many will be able to stay consistent throughout the year, because I love that. The more writers who can hop onto streams or who are building streaming communities and really doing like productivity sprints is such a win. Those are the writers that I want to meet. And of course, because they help bring more writers and they help motivate, because the entire writing process can be great, it can be challenging, but even when we don't feel like writing, we show up to write anyways. As I like to say, my motto of last year was, if you don't feel like writing, write anyway. All right, my friends, Holistic would love to see a story from you. You should definitely submit a story. Usually free. It's usually like a 10-minute reading and then a 10-minute critique. So definitely for next Saturday's stream. And then we'll also be returning back with the Create Right Now podcast. I'm not sure if I have a podcast guest for next week. Maybe I need to put out the podcast. I need to put out the podcast announcement. Whenever I put out the podcast announcement, I start booking up guests for 3 months. So Create Right Now podcast, whether be back next week or the week after, where I basically invite guests. I invite authors, or publishing professionals or writing experts to come on the stream for an interview, and we talk about an area of the writing process. The Create Right Now podcast is usually pretty fun. I love meeting new people. And that is Creative Writing on the Morrow. So I'll be back tomorrow, 1 p.m. Pacific, 2, 3, 4 p.m. Eastern for a writing motivation stream, productivity sprint, and all that jazz. If you enjoyed the stream, tap that like button on your way out. Help us show the algorithm that writing streams are cool. All right, my friends. Unfortunately, that brings us to the end of the stream. Don't forget, words are wind, but stories are forever. I'm Kaufman, and I'll catch you on the morrow. Stay creative, writers.